Welcome to another episode of that Grief Relief podcast. I'm Katie, and today I'm joined by Sam. Well, I've just found out through the sound check, Sam Benjamin Cole.
Sam Benjamin Cole.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Now, this is the first time that Sam and I have met. We've been connected through friends of friends of friends of friends. And I always find that quite weird. Like, at what point does someone approach you and go, hey, you know your dead relative?
Yeah.
Want to talk to my friend about it?
Yeah, we have just, I've just brought some cake in as well. I've come into a strange house, brought some cake in. And I've had a tea with sugar in, which is not normally what happens.
I know. I said to Sam, do you want a cup of tea? And I just sacrilege. I didn't even ask him how he took it. I just thought, right, it will be exactly the same as me.
Yeah. Apparently,
but it wasn't. And I can also hear my cat meowing at the gecko that I've just rescued.
Yeah, you did save a gecko. It's been an eventful big start.
Saved a gecko. I'm basically a hero. So yeah, Sam did do that. He walked in, made a cup of tea, and he literally just goes, "Do you want cake?" I was like,
Yeah, I do.
Because it was your birthday yesterday.
It was my birthday yesterday. Yeah.
How old are you?
31 now.
31.
Yeah, the hangovers are getting harder.
Yeah, that is true. And you said you're out on a boat party at the weekend as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was a bad one.
We won't talk about that. Sam, thanks so much for coming on. Genuinely, I know that with each episode of the podcast and with more people that talk about their lost loved ones and their grief and how they dealt with it, I think it just helps everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm happy.
Poppy, stop screaming at the gecko. Okay, that's fine. It's going to be fine. Sam, your dad with the best dad name ever, Stan.
Stanley, yeah.
Stanley
strong
Cole.
Name, yeah.
It is a strong name.
There's not many newborns named Stanley anymore.
Do you know what? My nephew-in-law is Stanley.
Is it?
Alfie and Stanley. Yeah.
My brother had a little boy shortly after Dad passed, and his middle name was Stanley. So they kept it alive. They've kept it alive, which is nice.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's gone down to my nephews as well, because same with my brother and my dad. But their middle name is Jeffrey. So it's not perhaps quite as cool.
Yeah.
But still, the accolade of it coming down through the. But the second born middle name is Granddad's middle name. So we're there. Stanley Cole, tell me all about him.
Stanley Cole. So Dad came from a really poor upbringing. Basically, he didn't really have a relationship with his mum.
Okay.
She had some neuromuscular disorder. So he was raised primarily by his dad, my granddad. Again, who he worked to keep the income coming in, obviously, but he then spent a lot of time with his wife, my dad's dad. So Dad was sort of passed around the local village and brought up by basically the whole village, really. So he was embedded into the community. Yeah, everyone in Blunderston knew Stanley.
Where's Blunderston?
East Coast,
okay.
Like Suffolk, Norfolk border.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he grew up in a really poor place there. Loads of pals. Worked. He was a quiet man. Not like wouldn't be very extroverty.
Okay.
But everything you wanted in a dad.
Yeah.
You know, he was class. Spent loads of time with me and my brother growing up.
Is it just the two of you?
Just me and my brother, yeah. Mm-hmm. He parented a lot of the kids that I grew up with as well. I think you always want what you never had, right?
Mm-hmm.
So very selfless man, gave up loads of time for development of myself and my brother. Worked in the oil and gas industry for 25 years.
Nice.
Boring job. He didn't really like his job, bless him.
But was he rich because of it?
No.
Right.
No, not really. We weren't. I wouldn't say we went without growing up. In fact, I was quite fortunate to have the opportunities that I did, but we've certainly not.
Okay.
Yeah, certainly not rich, unfortunately. I'd love to say we were, but we weren't.
I would have been more impressed if it was a bigger cake.
If
that was the case.
Indeed. And so looked after himself, really sort of healthy, fit bloke. He was 61 when he passed, and he just retired, which was a shame, you know, and new guest coming in again.
Poppy is not happy with you at all, is she?
Without Gecko, though, so that's good.
Oh, yeah, without the gecko. 61, so that's young as well.
Yeah,
so annoying.
Yeah. I think looking back now, I thought it was young, but I've come to I feel like he got a good innings, really.
Yeah, for sure, but I still think that 61 just seems so
young. And he was young, and he was very young for his age. You know, like he still had loads of life left in him. And I found that difficult to begin with in the whole grieving process. I went through a stage of hating the world and why him and all these people. We talked about like smoking and drinking, and he didn't do any of that. Ate all the right things, 8 hours sleep a day, you know, went to the gym 4 days a week, exercised. But that's not how it works, is it?
No, it's not how it works.
As we know. So
how did he die?
When your time's up, your time's up.
Because now I'm worried.
He was hit
by a bus.
He was diagnosed with a brain tumor, similar to
same as my dad.
Yeah. Like I said, athlete, played golf, played squash, did a lot, and he started to get like headaches, or he said it felt like, you know, when you go swimming, and you get water trapped in your ear, and then you're trying to shake it out for ages, and you get that sort of weird underwater sound. He had that, and he described it as I've just done there. He said that because you know when he was swimming, he thought that was the case, and went on for 2-3 weeks, bit off balance at times.
But didn't go to the doctors at this point.
No, classic.
Generational thing, I think, as well.
I'm a man. I'm from that generation. I'm fine. I don't need any help. He didn't like tablets or going to the doctors, any of that. Like very much met the stereotype in terms of that. But yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing. He probably would have, having known the information that he did. And yeah, got diagnosed in like November 2018. So the family found out before me, actually, because I'm obviously the expat, so I'm over here.
Yeah.
And I proposed to my now wife in the Burj Al Arab on our 1 year anniversary.
Fancy. 1 year?
I know.
That's
quick. Move quick.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
And a new baby as well now.
Yeah,
so you
new
really
baby.
Are ramping things up.
Don't mess about.
Okay.
So yeah, I had probably like at that moment in my life, that was the highest point.
Of course.
Brilliant. Like Burj Al Arab, pulled out all the stops. And that night, Mum and Dad rang, to tell the news. So they'd obviously hidden that information from me because they wanted me to enjoy that night. And then, and to this day, that's the high. You know, that's in terms of high and low. That's probably about as sort of extreme as it's got in my life to date.
Yeah. And what happened? When that phone call, you weren't at the Burj at this
No,
point.
we were back
home.
We were back home, yeah.
And the phone call came. Now, did you have one of these weird sixth senses?
I knew, yeah. As soon as we seen the phone going, we knew it wasn't good. He'd talked about it, and I think Mum had said that in the last couple of weeks he'd been going to get some scans and stuff to find out what the problem was.
Yeah.
And Mum answered crying basically. And I'm not an emotional guy, to be honest with you. I don't externalize a lot of my emotions, I would say, but that was deeply upsetting. That was sort of and then your wife's crying, and I think as a man as well, then I'm trying to comfort her. So you kind of forget about me.
It's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? Whereby one of the episodes that's come out is about a chap who's suffered miscarriage with his wife, and his was like, I just wanted to be strong because my wife was so upset. You know, and then you're also allowed to be upset. But I like the fact, and bearing in mind I literally don't know you, I met you like 20 minutes ago, is that with your wife you're obviously in an incredibly safe space, and you knew that you could just
definitely
cry and let it out.
Yeah, for sure. But even now, like, don't really talk about it with her.
With your wife?
With my wife, no.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
Do you think she skirts around it?
She tries to bring it out of me every now and then, like how's things with your dad. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot to talk about, really. Like he's gone. I very much live for the present, and he said to me, like, as enduring his illness, to sort of move on and live my life. And so it's a difficult one, because I don't think, like, now I'm talking to you and there's so much to celebrate from his life.
Of course.
Like, I loved him to bits. He was the best dad that I could have ever asked for. And he was a special person, like, and the people at his funeral and everyone else, there's so much there. But when my wife says to me, "How are you dealing with it?"
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk about it.
But do you not want to talk about it, or are you kind of fine? And I'll set some context to that, because as you know, as we've touched on, I lost my parents.
Yeah.
And I'm okay.
Yeah.
And even shortly
You
afterwards,
seem to be, like, as I say, I've known you 26 minutes
Me
now.
and Sam's really a long-going, enduring relationship.
Yeah.
But that was it. And it wasn't as if it was like an I'm fine and everything swept under the carpet. I felt that I was addressing it. I cried when I needed to cry, or, rang my friend or my family or whatever when I felt I needed to get out. But it's interesting that you don't think there's anything to talk about.
Yeah, no, I don't talk to friends about it, really. And even now, when I'm talking to you about this, I've not completely opened the box. You know what I mean? Because it's upsetting, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
And you feel emotion, and why would you put yourself through the pain and the hurt of it? But
if there is that if you're saying that you don't speak to your friends and family about it.
No, family, yes.
Right. Okay.
So my brother, no problem, because we've gone through the same thing. We've got the same dad.
Interesting.
And like yourself, who obviously has gone through something very similar, like, absolutely fine. We can talk about that. We've got things in common, and I can help you and you can help me and everything else.
That's my plan.
But I still wouldn't want to. But I still wouldn't want to. Oh, like my pals just say, how are you with dad, sort of thing, and I go, great, and I genuinely think I'm doing fine. Like, I think I've dealt with it okay, and like I said to you at the start, I had that phase to begin with, and my mum very much did as well.
Yeah.
Like, why him? Yeah. He did everything right. Yeah. This is a cruel world. It's unfair.
So I want to touch on that, actually. So from how long was it from diagnosis to when he passed away?
So the 25th of November he was diagnosed, and he died the 1st of October.
Oh wow! Okay, so just under a year.
Yeah. So that happened really fast, incredibly quickly, actually. Mum and dad paid for like experimental treatment at like Harley Street for drugs that weren't weren't available to, and that was supposed to give you 2 years. And I think there was a bit of resentment there as well, especially from mum and the family, that we were told this was going to happen, but it's all experimental, and at that point you try anything, don't you?
Anything, absolutely.
Mum completely manipulated dad's diet, like ginger every day. There was all sorts of stuff, and you do hold on to that, don't you? Anything you can do to help.
Absolutely.
Like mum, bless her, she was a full-time carer effectively. She quit her job. She's not worked since he was diagnosed. She's not worked. And I think mum would probably say that there's still a bit of that resentment, but we're getting there as a family, and I think that, like, you just have to be grateful for what you have got. There's so many. I think we're absolutely blessed as a family, and as I'm an expat. There's not a lot I worry about, to be quite honest, and I'm very lucky in that regard. And I think that the family now come around and think of it like that. It's happened. We can either be hateful and think, why me, or you appreciate the 61 years you had with a fantastic dad that absolutely grateful for, and consider myself completely lucky. So. And
I think that's quite interesting as well, bearing in mind there's a couple of things that you've mentioned, and that mindset has clearly come from both your parents as well. That you do feel.
More so my dad, I would say.
Yeah.
When he was alive, before he was even ill, he would always just say, we sit in a family of 4, and in the Cole family household, 9 till 10 was family time, and you'd sit and you'd talk with no electronics.
The evening?
Yeah.
That's a late family hour.
We'd eat together. If dad wasn't back from work, we'd wait for him. And then 9 till 10 was normally watch like some crappy like Midsummer Murders, or it was normally crime.
Nice. Yeah, it usually is.
My brother's now a policeman, so it had an effect on him.
And he was just researching the whole time.
But he always used to say, "I'm blessed. I'm so lucky to have you guys," and because he came from that poorer upbringing, you appreciate him more, I guess.
And he's clearly worked very hard for his life.
Yeah.
How long had him and your mum been together?
Oh, good question.
A long time.
A long time, yeah.
No previous
married for like
marriages.
25 years. Yeah, no
Wow.
previous marriages. Yeah.
So going back to your grief then, so obviously you got the phone call, it happened, you were with your wife, devastating, as you say, you've just gotten engaged and you'd gone
Yeah.
0 to 100 the opposite
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yep.
Crashing back to reality, as it were.
Yeah.
What happened then, bearing in mind you live here in the UAE,
Yeah.
was your first thing, book a flight?
Yeah. Next day we're on a flight, and went home.
Yeah.
Work were really good. I think in times like that, you just drop everything, don't you?
Yeah.
There's nothing more important than that. So, family comes first. Got on a flight the next day. We were home.
And what greeted you when you got home?
We actually, I can't remember because we went back so much. I think the first time we just went to the family home, and obviously very upsetting. Like, mum answers the door, crying again. It's interesting because my dad wasn't a very emotional man.
Okay.
Very tactile man, not a very emotional man. And he never once in those 8 or 9 months of being diagnosed cried or showed any emotion.
Really?
Yeah. Never. Not once cried, not once. Like, he was such a selfless man that, like, he was more concerned about us.
What is wrong with parents?
I know.
And I know that's, and I want to
Yeah.
touch on the fact that you're now a new parent, but
Yeah.
not making it all about me, but that was exactly what happened with our dad. So we just lost our mum 18 months before, and so dad was saying, it's not fair on you kids, and you're going to lose both your parents. And we're like, you are literally on your deathbed.
Yeah, you do you. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, the first thing he said was, son, I've researched what I've got and it's not genetic. Like, you're good.
No way.
Yeah. As if that would be a concern. Well, I guess now, as I say, I'm a dad, that would be a concern, but...
Yeah, but at the time,
No,
what an interesting thing that he thought like that.
But even mum, like, obviously, mum had more of an intimate relationship with dad than me and my brother, Tom, but she said that he never once cried, never once got upset with... Crazy, isn't it? We all deal with stuff differently, right?
Yeah, really interesting. And you do wonder whether it is that, again... the generational male stiff, British stiff upper lip of just going, okay, well, we'll just, you know, obviously kind of a keep calm and carry on thing. Was he in pain during any of this? Obviously,
No.
I know that they deteriorate.
No, not really.
Okay.
I wouldn't say he was in pain. He didn't know the severity of what he had.
Oh.
He was quite unaware, I think.
Oh, really?
Of what? Yeah.
Do you think on purpose?
Possibly. Again, like, he didn't really talk about it a lot. He was honestly just more concerned about, like, everyone that came to visit him. He wanted to know about them, and he didn't talk about himself. And
it is mad. We were from a small town as well, and the local GP would pop in and see my dad because it's a small town. And he was like, don't worry about me. I'm a lost cause. Go see people that need your help.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's genuinely what he would say. And we were all there going, Dad, just let the doctor just talk to you, very briefly.
Yeah. But I'm like, growing up, like, Dad, as I said, like, we were walking down the Lowestoft High Street, for example, and you'd see, like, I don't know, someone who was, like, hugely old or impaired or disabled or something like that, and he would always be like, if I ever get to that stage, he'd be like, just turn the machine off. Or he said, I don't want to ever be like.
Yeah.
And when he was like that, he never knew he was. So he had no sort of. He didn't realise that he was. Because he couldn't do anything towards. He couldn't do anything towards the end. Like, he'd forget. Lost so much weight. He looked horrible when he was like something ridiculous, like 6 or 7 stone. He weren't a big man, but. I've not seen a person that skeletal, like, alive. Like, it was horrendous.
And that's always a difficult one, isn't it? Because, like we were saying before we hit record, is just at what point is it not your dad?
Yeah. And he probably had 9 months, as I said, from when diagnosed to passing, and he was probably my dad for about 4 months, the first 4 months. And we tried to do as much as we could, but his mobility then went, and he chose to, I mean, I don't know what it was like with your father, but he had a choice of, like, you can either let it do what it's going to do and have some quality years, like or quality time, or you can do the chemo and the radio and everything else. And he chose that because, and you have to respect his decision. Mum didn't want him to do that, to be quite honest. And in hindsight, having seen what that does to a person, I mean, it was awful. I mean, I wouldn't, if I was in a similar situation now, I'd just ride it out, I think. It just absolutely ruined him. Like, and I don't know whether he would choose that knowing what it would have done. But he thought if he didn't do anything, then he was basically giving up to it. And like I said, he was an athlete who was a fighter, and he, so he was like, I'm doing it. I'm fighting this thing. I'm not bowing down to it. So that was why he chose that, I guess.
And I guess we also don't know. No one really knows how much longer it did give you.
Yeah.
So whether that was a thing.
Who knew? Could have had longer, could have had less, you don't know.
Yeah, but then I guess in turn, when you weigh that against the quality of life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he passed away.
Yeah.
What, were you there or were you back over in...
No, I was there. Yeah, I was there. We was... So... Yeah, we moved his bedroom. We moved downstairs because he couldn't get up the stairs anymore. So he was in the what we used to call the dining room on a bed in there, and like he towards the end, the last month, he barely left the room, to be honest. Like Mum would wash him and clean him and stuff, but he couldn't really walk. So we myself, my wife and my mum were in the family home. Tom and his wife Tara were at their place. They live really locally, like 15, 20 minutes. And we spent a lot of the day with him. We went, he was asleep. We went to in to watch some TV, like this classic shitty drama that he'd watch.
My dad was
probably a bit like Line of Duty, something like that.
Don't even talk to me.
No, terrible ending. That's another story. But yeah, 9 till 10. Mum went out to make a tea at the commercial break. Yeah. Just heard her howling, like screaming my name, Sam, Sam, Sam. He's dead.
No way.
Yeah. So we just literally body shut down, just ran out of air, and that was it. Yeah. And that's something, isn't it? I mean, I don't know what your experience was, but hugging your still dad who weighs whatever it is, 7 stone, isn't? Yeah, that's horrific. But that I don't know. I felt a bit of relief as well.
I was going to ask that actually,
because the suffering. Well, he didn't really suffer, but my mum suffering was over. Like she had no quality of life for the best part of a year. She'd, and watching that every day and getting out of bed to be a carer to the person you love, and that was horrendous for her. But and then my brother came over with his wife shortly after, and like having to ring your brother up to tell him that your dad's died. I mean, that's shocking.
And is he your younger brother?
Yeah, younger brother. Yeah. So you feel some responsibility as like the older brother, and it was horrible, but it is what it is, right? And then,
well, as you say, it is what it is. Talk to me then about your grief. How you've already mentioned about you being the eldest child, and I'm interested to know very much because of how similar your story is to mine. What then happened? Tell me about this grief and why you were so angry, and how did you then get through that? He was, as I said, he was absolutely my role model, like brilliant. Like a lot of my friends growing up were like, "You're so lucky to have a dad like you've got." Like he lived for his kids, right? He pumped all his energy into me and Tom. And you're then seeing like my pals or lads of similar age who I've grown up with, who are eating shit every day and they're smoking 60 fags and they're a bit of an arsehole or whatever, like that sort of stuff. That was what I was processing in my head. And I was like, I'm not a religious person, but if there is, like, how is that? Like, if we're supposed to do these things and you're taught to be a nice person, and Dad was brilliant and, treat people how he likes to be treated. I went through that phase for probably 3 or 4 months, I would have said. Really?
Yeah.
And how then were you venting that anger? I wouldn't say I was really. I'm not an aggressive person. I'm not
I'm not an angry person, really. I don't let a lot get to me. I don't know how I was venting it, to be quite honest with you. When I go to the gym, or when I play football, I channeled a lot of that aggression. Yeah. If I'm doing a set of, if I'm struggling on rep number 8, I was getting to 10 because of Dad, and he was going to make me get there. Or the next time the geezer got the ball in football, I was going to hit him harder than he hit me. Have that one from a dad sort of thing.
Yeah, I did wonder, because obviously you're sitting here in your I was going to say school uniform, but you are a PE teacher.
Yeah, this is uniform. Yeah, kit. I'd say kit, but yeah, this is a uniform. We wear the same.
Are you still called PE teachers?
Yeah, PE teacher. I am
not
indeed.
Like a different.
No.
Oh, okay, fine. So anyway, yeah, I was wondering whether the whole fitness element would then come through, because that's come through on a few episodes where people would then just go, do you know what? I kind of fought the pain through pain myself, but blood, sweat, and tears kind of thing.
Yeah. So Dad did a Christmas Day swim. He was one of like the founding members to start up this Christmas Day swim in Lowestoft.
In the sea?
In the sea, yeah.
Crazy man.
I know, he was. So me and my brother were forced into that at a young age. So that's all I remember at Christmas, right? So I think I was 6 and my brother was 4.
Are you aware of child lines number?
Yeah, no. That was norm. That's the norm, right? So unless you're exposed to anything different. So that's what we did on Christmas Day. So that's all I've done. I've done that every year.
Okay.
I'm now 31, right? So that's a fair few years of doing that. So we also organised like a big charity event for Dad. Everyone printing off T-shirts of him and all his old pals, like guys who would have never gone in, guys who took the piss out of him for going in.
Okay.
Then, you guilt trip him and you're going, well, Dad would have loved you to come in. And he's like, I'm going in. Like, okay, fair. My wife went in, who absolutely hated me for it, like tried to bottle it on the day.
You guilt trip her too?
And but that she did it when Dad was alive as well.
Oh.
In fancy dress in a Power Ranger. And she was going to bottle it on the day. She woke up in my house and she came down and she was going to bottle it. And then Dad was sort of just about with it then, and he was like, do you know what? Good on you for doing it. And she's like, I have to go now.
Yeah, she couldn't back out there.
Yeah, I have to go now.
So it seems like he was this amazing character that, as you say, like everybody like celebrated his life. And as you say, you can, and again, similar to mine, I guess, in terms of, I speak about my parents so much that some people, and I've genuinely had this before, don't realise they're not around anymore. Yeah. Because I speak about them. Not so much.
But it's great to keep that alive, isn't it?
100%.
It's great to keep that alive.
Not so much in the present. I remember, and that was something that my brother Russell picked up on, because when you listen to episode 2 of the podcast, Sam hasn't.
I will do. Yeah, I walked into this not knowing anything.
I'm really concerned that my camera's gone off. Hold on.
Whoops. Another thing I thought of the way, like I've been very blessed up to this point that I've not lost anyone close to me.
I did say that everyone I know dies.
Yeah, God.
Okay.
Touch wood. But I thought when it happened to you, like the world would stop. I felt like that there'd be peace for a moment, and everyone would like, and the reality is no one really cares. And I found that hard. Because I was like the best bit of my life, or such a big part of my life, has just died. And like you're shaking hands in the funeral and the wake or whatever. And you know what it's like, everyone's like, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Well, of course there's not. And then that's it. And then everyone just goes to their job and does a thing, and you're left with like this big hole. And I was like, yeah, no one really gives a
It is
that's
weird.
That's what I felt like, and for me and my brother, we've got wives and we've got jobs, so we're busy, right? Mum is now in this house in the country by herself, just thinking about no job, just thinking about, do you know what I mean? Like what? Trying to busy her days.
And that's what I was going to ask you as well, was then like, how did you react about your mum?
About like how mum felt?
Yeah. Like what was your not instant reaction, but was it a case of, how do we look after mum? Yeah,
definitely.
Especially because you were going to leave.
If I didn't have if Tom, my brother, wasn't in the UK, I would have gone.
Yeah.
You can't. Like, there's bigger things, right? And as I say, I'm an expat, and thankfully I'm a teacher, so I get regular holidays. So I was flying back every holiday. I think I had 3 weeks off work as soon as we were told, spent time there, and then every sort of 5 or 6 weeks we went back for either 1 week or 2 weeks. And even then I was considering jacking it in and just spending time with Dad for however long he had left. But I remember him saying to me, like, I said, like, I'm going to do this, and he went, don't be daft. He was like, why would you give up your career and your job in Dubai that you've worked hard to achieve, and you're going to throw that all away to sit next to me and watch me pee in a bucket and do Sudoku for a year? And it genuinely, he was like, ridiculous, you're not doing that. But like, and then I'm like to Mum, like, and you question, am I doing the right thing? Like, but you make that decision and you stick by it, right? Dad would have wanted me to do that, so.
And you're right, because your brother was at home. That's a lot more.
Yeah, there was a safety net, and there's
thing.
someone there, and my mum was there as well, and my grandma was helping out, and thankfully had loads of great friends that have been brilliant to Mum since and have supported, and just to go out for walks or pick up a newspaper or pop over for a coffee. I mean, brilliant in terms of like the aftercare that Mum's received from friends and family. We can't complain at all. She's very lucky.
Is she okay? Is she doing okay?
I think so. A lot of people will ask that, and I always say I think so.
It's one of those things where your mum probably isn't telling you the whole truth if she was in a bad place.
Yeah, of course. But again, she's quite open, and we catch up over Zoom quite regularly. We caught up yesterday, and we talked about that sort of stuff, and I think she's doing as well as she could do. I don't think you ever get over it. I think you learn to cope with it better.
You said you spoke about it yesterday on Zoom, but I'm assuming you didn't talk about it.
Yeah, like things. I can't remember what it was particularly now. I think she talked about an old colleague that used to work with Dad, and we got onto that, and I think he gave her a plant that Dad liked, and then she got a bit teary or that sort of stuff. And yeah, so there's obviously emotion there. There always will be, but yeah.
But it's interesting that you never want that to come to the.
So I deal with it by myself.
Yeah.
I deal with it by myself. I'll have a cry, I reckon, once every 6 weeks, 2 months, on the way back from football. I play football at Sevens on a Tuesday.
Yeah. And
I give myself a little drive home from the Sevens on a Tuesday night. I talk to him.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about, he doesn't talk back, but I'll talk to him, and like stuff we used to share, like he'll be analysing how I did on the Tuesday night playing centre back. So
okay.
Yeah, that sort
I like
of stuff.
that though. So so that's interesting, because you didn't give that impression to me at the beginning of our chat.
I think I don't like talking about it.
Okay.
Why would I put you? I mean, it's different because I feel comfortable talking to you because you've gone through something very similar, right? So I don't know why like my wife even. I don't know why I'd put her through. Like, she loves me, I love her.
Of course, yeah, no.
And she wants to look out for me, so she asks me, but I don't really want to talk about it.
Okay, I think
even with my brother, like, who we've gone through the identical.
Yeah.
I don't really want to. We don't talk about it.
But again, this is where I always have to say, I am not a professional. Lots of people ask me, they're like, "Oh, is she a therapist?" I'm like, "No, I'm not a therapist."
Yeah.
I'm just really interested in these sort of stories. But it's interesting to me that you've done this, because on one hand, it's amazing that you're chatting away to him. I've been there, obviously. Yeah. You're chatting away to him in your car. Sorry. Yeah. But I find it interesting that you don't bring that up, and you're almost not wanting to burden other people with your
I guess so.
downtime, your sad time.
Yeah.
Which I think as well, again, I don't know you or Stan, is that I think you are your father's son. Yeah. By the sounds of it, and you're just
quite possibly, but right. So Dad, and there's pros and cons to that. So I use the analogy putting emotions in a box, right?
Yeah.
And I'm got that on lockdown. I rarely am spontaneous in an emotion. Like, really? I'm quite calm and I'm quite placid, and I can deal with stuff, and I'll put it away. Maybe not so much football.
Okay.
No, but I'm the captain of the football team, and if there's a fight kicking off, I'll be the one to go in and split them up.
But you're not the person.
Not a fighter,
off.
not aggressive.
Right, okay.
No, not me. So I put the emotions in a box and then deal with it when I'm ready to deal with it, right?
Okay.
Which, healthy, unhealthy, good, bad, we don't know, not sure.
No.
My dad could do the same. As I said to you, not an emotional person at all. When his dad passed, me or my brother didn't see him cry, didn't see him deal with it, didn't talk about it. But then a time later, and it was sort of coincided with his redundancy from Shell before he moved on to the next company, was diagnosed with depression. Right. So there's now concerns in my family, like you're dealing with this the same way that Dad did, and I genuinely I think I'm doing fine. I don't think that will ever happen to me. But Dad said the same, right? And he thought it was a made up. I remember him saying to me like before, this is a made up thing. This is not a thing. This is people getting time off work before, and I'd never had it, and he'd never had it, and then he went through it, and he was struggling to get out of bed and to deal with these thoughts and things like that, right? And if you knew Dad or Stan, you would say he'd be the last person on the planet to suffer with depression.
Yeah.
Like no chance with this human being that wasn't an extrovert, but could light up a room and was very personable and like didn't listen to respond, but listen to understand. Right? He was genuinely interested in every person that spoke to him. But yeah, and for 18 months, completely struggled.
So with that knowledge...
Interesting.
Yeah, but with that knowledge then, would it not...
But I can talk, like, I don't find it uncomfortable. Like, I'm more than happy to speak to you here.
Yeah.
This is great for me. This is, I'm enjoying this. I'll go to far as to say.
I will be charging you 750 dirhams for it.
But yeah, I don't want to... possibly it is this burdening people with it, but...
No, but I'm asking, like, bearing in mind exactly what you've just said about your dad, do you not just think, okay, just in case, I'll go and have a quick therapy session, just in case?
No, but I don't think I need to. I think I'm doing fine.
You seem to be, yeah. And the only reason I say it is because I was absolutely fine after Mum and Dad, and then I've spoken about Malcolm a couple of times, but I've never delved into it. Malcolm was a man who I met in Bali on a random holiday, and I met him one evening and then never saw him again. And we chatted, and he said, not in that way, by the way, that sounds really dodgy that I've met this man in Bali.
Yeah.
No. And
no assumptions made.
He basically said, I think you should see a counsellor. I said, no, I don't need to, whatever.
But again, there's that stigma around, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, there is. But I went to see a therapist because of Malcolm. Like, he proper niggled in my head.
Yeah.
Best decision I've ever made.
Yeah. And you found it helpful?
Super helpful. Yeah, super helpful. And then, like I said to you, with the sort of other losses and trauma I've suffered in the last, year, like, message her again, and I'm like, hey, babe, me again.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, God, what's happened now? She's never said that, by the way. My counsellor's like super amazing. But I just find it interesting that you do think you're fine, which is great. You seem genuinely seem like you are. But I just think because of what your dad went through, and because you are a dad yourself now, a new dad, would you not just think, for the sake and safety of everyone else?
I mean, I'm not against it. At the same time, if you said go and see this guy, I'd be like, sweet, I'll go and see him. But I like. If I'm hungry, I'll eat, right? I don't feel a need to go and see a counsellor. So I haven't seen a counsellor.
Okay, I like that. How did you get through this grief then, this anger period and whatnot? What was your grief relief?
Again, I don't know. Just a change of mindset, really. Like, it's stuff in the press recently with this poor little girl. You'll have seen her. What was her name now? Eliza, I want to say, that died. Everyone was tweeting.
Was it the guy X on the Beach's daughter? Okay.
Kane, his daughter, right?
He's a footballer, right?
Yeah,
X.
and that's right. And things like stories like that, I think, just put everything into perspective, and we're like, actually, like like I said to you, I had a brilliant dad for 61 years,
Well,
and I'd like to think.
Years.
Well, yeah, 30, 31, no, 29, I think. And yeah, I'd like to think that, as a parent, he'd have pretty much had as much influence as he was going to have on me as a dad by 29, right? So I feel so grateful to have had that now. So I think it was just a change of mindset, like seeing other people suffering around you, I guess, and going, actually, it wasn't so bad. I had I had that, as I said, ingrained in me from young. Dad was very much that person. Yeah. And
it's a really good way of just looking at life in general.
Exactly, yeah,
right?
like gratitude. You look at the guy who drives a better car than you, and you're jealous and envious of it, or you look at the guy and you say, actually, like, this is great.
Yeah.
I'm getting from A to B here safely, and who cares what it is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Amen to cars. Yeah.
And I always say about just the whole. I've said it before on the podcast, is that I had to make it a conscious decision for quite a long time, and now it's very natural to me. Of when I wake up, I decide, am I going to have a good day or a bad day? Am I going to be in a good mood or a bad mood? When the alarm goes off, it's normally a bad mood.
Yeah.
But genuinely, I normally think, do you know what? I'm just going to have a really good day.
Yeah.
So I'll just kind of get on with life.
I agree completely.
Which then, as you know, when you suffer close loss and people are like, oh, you're so resilient, you're so strong, I don't know how you do it. And you're like, but I just want to kind of...
Yeah. It's happened.
Good, and good energy.
I'm either going to sit in a dark room and listen to Coldplay and cut my wrists, or I'm going to do exactly what my dad would want me to do and enjoy the rest of my life to the fullest. You know what I mean?
Did you ever have a time where you thought that you were going to go down any dark places? I don't mean to that extent, but as
no, I would actually say the worst part was when he was alive, for me.
Yeah.
Like whilst he was suffering. Yeah.
God, I'm not surprised.
Like since he's passed, it's been a lot better. Like I said, I felt relief at that time that we could all just sort of move on past this terrible chapter. Like at the time, he didn't really know, and he chose to fight, right? So he chose a path to fight rather than let it do whatever it was going to do. So I didn't want to have that conversation with him where I say goodbye. Because then that's me giving up on him, right? Yeah. Whilst he's alive. Yeah. How bad is that?
Yeah.
So we never really had that. And he knows how I felt about him anyway. We were open, and he knows that I thought he was brilliant. But I never had that, right, I love you, you've been brilliant, thank you for everything. Because I didn't want to say to him, whilst he's alive, I've written you off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess
if you're a horse, they'd put you down. That's like
it would almost be disrespectful because of how much he was fighting.
Exactly. So he's basically like, I've gone down this chemo route and I'm doing all this, and you've just gone, right, you're gonna die. See you later. That was how I think my brother did the same. It like chose not to do.
Yeah. Were there any regrets for that when he did pass away then so suddenly?
Yeah, but then like. When do you pull your money out of an investment? Like, do you buy low, sell high? Do you know what I mean? There's always going to be. Yeah. Like, I'd have had to time that right. Like, he's going to die today, so I'm going to. Yeah. And you never know. Like, so not really. We were a very open family. He knew how I felt about him.
Yeah, and that's good. Yeah, there was nothing that was left unsaid that you wish had been.
And we spent a lot of quality time in that 9 months doing stuff that he's enjoyed and yeah. We spent some good time and shared memories, and by the time he'd left, I'd said everything I wanted to say to him, I think.
And grateful for that time that you'd had together, especially living in a different country. Yeah. To have that time, yes, I guess you wish it was under better circumstances.
Yeah, for sure.
But definitely.
But yeah, the last 4 months, it wasn't him.
No.
So we rushed my wedding. Our wedding. My wife will kill me for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Our wedding.
Yeah. So it's weird because she says my wedding.
Yeah. So he could be there. So found out in November, obviously. Found out in November.
When you just got engaged.
Day after proposal.
Yeah.
And we got married on the 26th of July. So, yeah, really pop up.
But he wasn't. Oh, but you got married at home. So was he physically there?
So Dad was there. That's why we did it. God. So he could be there. And I don't know how much he knew. And he was only sort of awake for about 5 hours a day at that point.
Yeah.
But he was there. He was there.
Oh my God, that must have been amazing. That
Yeah,
happened.
yeah.
My
Just
friend
knowing
did
that
the
he
same
was
thing.
there, and just before he passed as well, my brother found out that he was going to have a baby, and he told Dad that before he died. So he knew he was gonna be a granddad. You know.
And
So
that's I was going to ask the
Yeah.
question, because you've recently had a little girl
Yeah.
last year.
that now is still the most upsetting part.
Okay, tell me
Still.
about
And I can almost feel my emotions coming in now, actually. And that was even then, like, because shortly after you get married, right, you get the idea is you have a child, right? That's
that.
the basis
Normal
upon
people, yeah. I
what
hate
you
children. Just so you
yeah
know,
yeah
so
yeah.
I'm
You're
like
not
that.
the only one.
No.
I'm a teacher, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is the most upsetting bit for me, because, like I said to you before, I had my 29 years with him, and he was brilliant to me, and he ingrained, and he put so many life lessons and everything else. But Isla, my little girl, is going to miss out on that. And no matter how well we embed the stories, you don't know. She won't know him.
No.
My dad's mum, my grandma, was apparently a brilliant person.
Okay. But
I
you don't
don't
know.
know.
No. Yeah.
She had no impact on my life because I never met her.
No.
So and that is upsetting. That's what upsets me. I had my time, you know what I mean.
I bet you had some very interesting conversations with your old man when your daughter was born.
Oh, we did, yeah, we did, yeah. He'd have loved that, man. And I don't know about religion and the afterlife and stuff, but I find some peace with thinking that he can see her.
Oh yeah.
Or us, or yeah.
100%. 100%. Regardless of what you believe in or what you don't believe
Yeah,
in.
exactly.
If anything gives you that kind of peace that he's there and watching over everything, then
no, definitely. Like, mum is not a religious person at all, and I wouldn't say she's superstitious or like skeptical or anything like that. But she now has this Robin that visits her, right? And she swears at his dad.
that were him.
And yeah, exactly. Have you seen the Peter Kay sketch, like with the quavers?
Yeah. Packet of quavers, that were him.
Yeah, flew across the road.
And
but it's funny what you find. And listen, if that helps you, I'm all for it.
Yeah, if that gives her
Yeah.
a sense of that stand
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah. I'm all for it, and I'll support that. Well, I mock her for it because I don't believe in it.
Okay.
But like, I mean, I'm like, Mum, it's not as a Robin, but if she finds her happy, we're all different, aren't we? I like playing football. I don't like playing rugby. If you want to play rugby and that makes you happy, go and play rugby. The world will be boring if we're all the same, right?
I'm not sure that's a similar analogy to your mum believing.
Yeah. We all believe in different things.
That your dad is a Robin. That's really.
Yeah, she finds peace with that, and that's great. Like,
you don't have to answer this, but what would happen if your mum met someone else, or has she met someone else?
No, she hasn't. I've had that conversation with my brother, and Dad would have been fine with that.
Really?
Dad said before, like, yeah, like as I said, very selfless guy.
Yeah.
Like, and the love Mum and him had was pure, like proper, so deeply in love, like best friends forever. But he's more concerned about what he's leaving behind, right? And he was like, if you like, he would have fully supported that, right? I don't think she will. I just don't think she will. If she does, fine, because that's my mum, and I want her to be happy. And I know my brother would share the same reasonings behind that. And it's more of a companionship then, isn't it?
Yeah.
She's not in a. She's not. She's just not. Yeah.
That's what you'd like
Christ,
to think.
Yeah. She's just so she's not in a house by herself, and she's got something to share experiences with.
Is she in the same house?
Same house, yeah.
Is that because that must be tough for her, as you say, just almost living within the memories.
Yeah, because I'm so distant from it. Again, my day to day is not affected by it. When I go home into that house, I feel a lot more emotion about Dad and towards Dad and everything else. Because you shared memories in that, in those rooms, 100%. And you can picture you doing this or
100%.
Playing Scrabble at Christmas or whatever you do.
Yeah. After the swim, obviously.
After the swim. Yeah.
And as you say, like the house full of kind of good and bad memories.
Yeah. Yeah. But I've deleted them
Really?
Yeah, they've gone. I don't like. Again, I opened up that box to talk to you about that today, and I was picturing him there in the downstairs room, right, which I've deleted. So I just touched on that again. I was like, oh, that's horrible. Get rid of that. Yeah. They're just the happy stuff now. Right?
Yeah. So mine it's not necessarily deleted, and again, I don't want to go into detail over my story over yours, but it's, as we said, it's really similar.
Yeah.
I was there when my dad passed away as well, and whilst that memory is still incredibly strong, it is far outweighed by all of the good stories and the funny stories,
like
and
the times where you laugh together, and
about the time when he literally sawed down the branch that his ladder was leaning
on.
Oh,
okay, good one.
Over the pond.
Yeah, but hilarious.
But I don't think I've made a conscious decision of that as you have per se, which is fine, and that's how you're dealing with it.
Yeah.
But there's just far more important things to talk about my dad than the illness.
Yeah, exactly.
Part.
Yeah, exactly.
No one wants to talk about that.
And I think we tend to, as humans, just trying to even just like self-preservation and protection to repress that stuff, don't you? Like you just.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely. Similar to you as well about the emotions sort of coming to the forefront is the case of sometimes I can tell the story about my mum or dad, on that night with absolutely nothing at all, and then sometimes, and you said it already, sometimes you can go, no, I can definitely feel that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I almost stop myself for exactly the same reasons that I'm questioning you. It's like, I don't want to make this person feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. No,
so I'll just
definitely.
Stop that for now.
And like public speaking, I've got no problem with that. I enjoy it. I like talking in front of people. Like a couple of best man speeches, which were brilliant. But at the funeral, and I remember writing out what I was going to talk about with Dad. My brother didn't want to talk about it, which is fair enough. But I felt it was only right that one of that there was a Cole speaking about Dad, and there's so much to celebrate. And so I said, no problem. I'm going to talk about him, and we wrote it together, and it was quite funny and jokey and trying to celebrate. And then Mum wanted to get in this little bit about you'll always be my role model, or I forget what it was like now, but something where you I love you, Dad, or like a sign off at the end.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people at this funeral, right? Like we're talking 350, 400 people at this funeral, people queuing outside.
Yeah.
And
Are you sure we don't have the same dad?
I couldn't. I know, yeah, similar story, yeah. I couldn't speak. Couldn't get it out.
Really?
I spoke perfectly. Well, that's a claim to fame, isn't it? Not perfectly. Okay, I thought to a point, until the last 3 sentences where I was talking to him, effectively. It was something like, Dad, I love you. You're the best thing. You're the best dad ever. And I couldn't speak.
And because you knew it was coming as well.
Yeah. And it felt like my brother stood next to me as we did it. He said he didn't want to speak, and he kept looking at me. I'm howling, crying, and for a guy that doesn't show much emotion, howling, crying, and I'm looking up at all the other alpha males that I've played football with are very similar to me, don't like showing emotion, and I'm looking up at them, and they've all gone, and I hate watching men cry. That makes me really sad. And I was in bits, absolute bits. And my brother left me hanging there for what felt like half an hour. And he's pointing at the last line as if to say,
Are you joking?
He's going, you can almost with body language, you can do this. And Mum's gone, and I'm looking out, and I felt that I'm everybody like that elder sibling kind of thing. You are now the eldest male in your family.
Yeah, you're the head of the family.
And we were supposed to rely on you, and you're now howling at the front of this church. And my brother's just leaving me hanging.
Oh, Tom.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah, and
did
he said it.
it?
No, I couldn't.
Really?
And he said the last 2 lines.
Oh, he did.
He did. Yeah.
Oh, Tom, he's like the Robin to your Batman.
Yeah. After 10 minutes, whatever it was.
I probably wasn't.
But all the boys after, everyone was just that is the most touching thing of it was horrendous. But again, I feel so much gratitude that we had that. These poor people that have lost. That was it for me. That was, I've dealt with that now. Like I said to you, I grieved more when he was alive. Definitely.
Yeah.
And that was that was it. Finished. Well, not finished, but I don't want to be any more sadness. I'm just going to remember him. It's Control Alt Delete. Everything from here is going to be positive stuff.
I like that. It's a perfect attitude to have, and
Yeah.
but as long as it doesn't come back
Yeah, that's it.
to bite you in the arse.
But I really don't feel like it will.
No, and of course not.
But I'm sure my dad would have said the same thing, right?
Yeah, and again, like I said, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a professional, so
Yeah.
the only advice I will
Yeah,
impart
well, maybe I
on
will.
you-
Maybe I will.
Well,
From someone that's been there and done it. And
yeah, there's that, but also, or just be hyper aware, as in like, just think if there's something that all of a sudden you've dealt with something differently. Maybe think, oh, remember that girl that I met in the ranches randomly to talk about my dead dad? Maybe I'll go and see
the cat with the gecko, I remember.
Oh, yeah, the cat with the gecko. Oh, she's gone somewhere. Before I let you go, I'd always ask a guest for a recommended podcast or Instagram account. Again, doesn't need to be related to your dad or what we've spoken about, but what you like. You've got a weird smirk on your face.
Yeah, I was trying to think. You said earlier, right? And again, I planned nothing. No, so my wife's sister, my sister-in-law, Dilem, Turkish family.
Okay.
Really exotic names. Great name, Dilem.
Nice. All the C's are pronounced really weird.
Yeah,
aren't they?
yeah. So she was in a bad relationship, and she suffered like a bit of mental health, and she's now come over that. Talks quite openly about it, and she started up an account to help with like managing anxiety and stuff like that.
Oh,
and
nice.
So her name.
Her Instagram name is.
Ooh, let me.
It's fine. We're just checking. Please hold.
Let me check. Her name's Dilem. I don't know if it's changed specifically, but she's doing like counselling from anxiety and stuff. It's a bit like Hyde.
No.
Dilem, DILEM_kiss.
Oh, I like it.
There you go.
Okay, fine. I will put the links below as well.
And she's it's great. Like that will help lots of people.
Yeah,
And
nice.
she talks openly and freely. Yeah, more about anxiety than what we've talked about than grief.
Yeah.
But certainly helpful in terms of like self.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a crossover, isn't it?
Yeah,
Anxiety and mental health and all of that malarkey.
Journaling with a specific focus on journaling.
Because I know you will listen to all 20 episodes of my podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Journaling has come up so much.
Has it? Yeah.
So much. And when I went through a bit of a hard time last year, I journaled, and people found it. I had a journaling app, and my brother was like, why don't you write it? Why does it have to be on your phone? I'm like, because I love my phone. But I journaled, and the thing that I did was, just to kind of make a note. It wasn't like a Dear Diary, but just kind of make a note from what was going on. But I would always rank my day.
About what? What was going...
Yeah, about what was going on at the time.
Yeah.
Thoughts, and because certain things, I kind of didn't want to forget certain things about how I was feeling in those moments.
Yeah.
For both good and bad ways. So, saying that, I haven't actually gone back, and I journaled for probably about 3 months.
Yeah.
And I haven't gone back and looked at it, but I think that it would be healthy to do that if I'm in a certain place to see how far I've come.
Yeah.
But I would journal each day, and then I would also rank each day out of 5.
Okay.
And then also add a photo. I could only add one because I didn't have the paid version.
The photo is what, of
I'm
you?
cheap.
Like
no,
a selfie?
No,
No?
I'm not that person.
Bad day.
Ching! Day to day. No, it was, I decided to make it a photo that represented my day. And what I found interesting is that because when you look at it, all the photos are there. It was always of animals. It was like my brother's dog or my brother's cat or a stray cat that I'd fed.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really interesting. And then that's when Poppy came into my life.
That's it.
Last year, bless her. Sam, thanks so much. Like, genuinely, I
I've
really
enjoyed
appreciate
it. It's
it.
good.
Bearing in mind, we've never met, never spoken, and thanks to lovely Emma, who's gone,
Yeah.
do you want to talk about
Yeah,
your dead
thanks,
dad?
Emma McCulley, to connect two
yeah.
people.
I love that very much. Yeah, thanks very much, and I'll see you soon.
Brilliant.
I'm going to eat your cake now.
Yeah. Do it.
Do you want another cup of tea with no sugar?
Yes, please, yeah.
I'll put the kettle on.